clouds and my feet will not stay on the ground. You anchor me back down. I am nearly world-renowned as a restless soul who always skips town, but I look for you to come around and anchor me back down. There are those who think that I'm strange. They would box me up and tell me to change, but you hold me close and softly say that you wouldn't have me any other way. When people pin me as a clown, you behave as though I'm wearing a crown. When I'm lost, I feel so very found when you anchor me back down. There are those who think that I'm strange. They would box me up and tell me to change, but you hold me close and softly say that you wouldn't have me any other way. When all the world is spinning round like a red balloon way up in the clouds, and my feet will not stay on the ground, you anchor me back down.
The song ending means I turn on the microphone. I'm distracted. I've been distracted. Ah, dingus. Ah, dingus. Dingus, dangus. Hi, how's it going? Happy Friday. My God, I've been booped. Rain is existing. That's good. I like that. I like it when my friends exist. That's like good, I think. That's like a good thing. How we all doing, y'all? I am tired today. I want to take a nap. But as much as I want to take a nap, and let it be known, it is a lot. I don't want to take a nap more than I want to hang out with my friend Carcat, who we're going to see today. Who we're going to be today. So I'll do that first. And then if I still feel like taking a nap after that, then I might take a nap. But mostly, we're going to read a chapter today. it would be great if my body would not try to tell me, hey, actually, I'm kind of hungry. No, the fuck you ain't. Wait your turn. This is true. This is true. Carcat is so friend. He's so good. He's good friend. Good, nice friend. I'm so coherent today. Anyway, yeah. I've been very tired today. And then I've been very distracted with I actually hit start streaming a couple of minutes late technically because I got distracted with sign up for fandom Secret Santa gift exchange thing. You know how fandoms do, where it's like I'm gonna draw you a thing and someone's gonna draw me a thing. The distraction. Yeah, this is going to be my 7th Portal Secret Santa. Because applications for that literally just opened up, and I have post notice on for that blog. So I saw it and I was like, oh shit, better not forget. Yeah, no, that's crazy. What's even crazier is, technically speaking, like, especially as time goes on, like, the difference between how many times I've done the Portal one and how many times I've done the Homestuck one, like, it's not that much of a difference. They're separated by only a year or two, I think. I think 2 years. That's like crazy, dude. It's like crazy. I've done it so many times. Why does... They weren't kidding. The years start coming and they don't stop coming. They weren't fucking kidding about the years. Shit, let's be Santa. Anyway, so that's what I was doing instead of staring my clock down and waiting for it to click over to 4 o'clock. At least it didn't take me too long to notice. So yeah, anyway, point being, let's not waste too much time. Let's not waste too much time because I was technically distracted and started the stream late. Let's jump right in. Let's jump right in. Or we could jump left in if you really wanted to, but honestly, I don't see the point. When jumping right in is equally as effective and much more conventional. Sorry, I needed to stretch. And apparently I needed to yell about it while I did it. So, anyway. I suppose all of that lead up to say that, welcome, my dear friends, to the 42nd installment of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. What? We're on number life, the universe, and everything. I mean, technically speaking, that a ghost did make that sound, if you think about it. If you think about it, he's not wrong. Anyway, if whosoever may be new here, is new here, what? Hold on. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, if someone is new here, which it doesn't seem like there is, but if there was, I would tell them, welcome. My name is Harper. You can call me KK if you want. My pronouns are they, it. And all I ask for you to do is to read the chat rules, be chill, and have a good time. That's what we're here for, after all. So, what is about to happen? I don't know either. Some might say vibe. This is true. I believe you are some, and you know what? I'm some too. I will say vibe. Have a vibe. Have a good vibe. A good vibe. We're here for a good vibe, not a long vibe. That's actually not true. These streams run for kind of a while. So what is going on here, anyway? Well, I don't know. Just kidding, I do know. It was my idea. I'm not funny, but that's okay. What we're about to have happen is that I'm going to read Chapter 42 of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, which is a 1 million word Homestuck fic that focuses on Dave Soulcat. It is an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. Technically speaking, it's been a long-ass time since I was technically allowed to change that description, because now we know what the void is. But I didn't. So I'm gonna commit to it and just keep reading it as written. As of now, the fic is currently unfinished, but I don't care. I'm doing this anyway, and you can't stop me, and you haven't stopped me, and I will not stop. In this stream series, I do aim to read the entire fic out loud by myself. We're most of the way there. Unless and until another chapter appeareth before us, in which case my work here would not be done. And I would pick it back up. I would pick the project back up and continue the reading of it. Unless yeah, no. When I say I aim to read the entire fic out loud by myself, that means I'm going all of these 61 chapters that you see here before ye, I'm going to read them all, and then when I run out of chapters, the project isn't done if a 60-second chapter were to appear before me. I would have to go ahead and stream that one too. And so on and so forth until this says complete. Can I read the... I wish I had that power, because then I would also be able to read out my own fic, which is as yet incomplete. So that sounds like it would be a really awesome power, and I would absolutely gladly do that if it were within my capability. Unfortunately, we do not live in that reality. And it causes me agony every day. Anyway. what does exist of the fic right now, I will go ahead and say to please take note of the tags. We've been looking at them this whole time. They've been here the whole time. Do be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. Do whatever you need to in that regard. I will not be offended. A bit radioactive author. Okay. I see it in my mind. So you will, I guess, eat something radioactive. Just, take a bite of some uranium. And then take a bite of me. And then I'll get the powers. And then it's like a symbiosis thing. Not to be confused with the symbiote. But we help each other. Yes, pull a car cat. Phonetically indistinguishable. But yes, do that. And then we will help each other out and both move our fics forward together. And I guess take over the world after that. I don't know. Up to you. Anyway, if you'd like to read back a much cleaner, less tangenty version of my intro blurb, you can type !fic about in chat. That's a good thing to do if anyone new shows up to the chat in the middle of the stream, to catch them up to speed as to what the fuck they are even hearing, because I recognize that I'm streaming in the Homestuck category, and this isn't Homestuck itself, it's Homestuck adjacent, so it was the closest thing I had, aside from just chatting, but we're not just chatting. We're reading. I mean, right now I'm chatting, but, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, if you would like a link to the fic itself on AO3, if, for instance, the URL bar at the top of my screen is too fucking small and full of many numbers, digits, and whatnot, and also is too fucking small, and maybe your Twitch doesn't work if you, maybe the Twitch, you need to lower your resolution, then that would make the URL bar quite hard to read, and also that would suck to have to input character by character. So instead, you can put in chat !fic link, and it will give you a link to chapter 1, and from there you can get to any other chapter you so desire. I promise. All of them will be there. So yeah, you can do that. You can save the fic for later. You can subscribe to it. You can bookmark it. You can leave a comment. You can share it with a friend. You can share it with a stranger if you wanted to. But next up is !fic song, which will give you a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command sadly cannot tell you which song is currently happening at any given point, but that's okay. You know why? Because if the narration doesn't tell you what the song title is, and the lyrics don't tell you what the song title is, I can tell you what the song title is. And so can Unda. And so can other people in chat who may be familiar with the fic. But, I mean, especially me, on account of I'm the one who's always here, on account of it's my stream, and if I'm not here, then there is no stream. So that would be quite strange if I wasn't here. That, and I could just kind of say it out loud. Man, did you hear the accent on the way I said out loud? What's wrong with me? Anyway, so yeah, if you ever want to know what song is happening, ask and you shall receive, I guess. Exclamation point fix, sorry, is just me accounting for my awareness of the polish that I could give this project but didn't, on account of I wanted to actually complete the project instead of agonizing over details for the next millennium. As such, some of the corners that I have cut involve, it is a live project, which means that if I say something incorrectly, like for instance, I mix up some words because my brain saw them in the wrong order and it wasn't the order that they were written in, and so I say it in an order other than the one that they were written in, and it makes no sense because that's not the order that they were supposed to be said in. Brains do that sometimes, and you're just gonna have to live with it. And I will try my damnedest, and I have thus far, to, whenever I do stumble and stutter, not to dwell on it, just kind of like pick it up from where I can and move on with my damn life. Be as unobtrusive as possible. And then also, Fix Sorry will tell you about, like, hey, sometimes in the song sequences, things get a little bit fast. And that is for the sake of progressing the narration and the lyrics at roughly the same pace as they do in the written version. I've had to pull some tricks to pull that off. And one of those tricks is to just fucking talk fast. And I'm not the most auditory processing ever. So it can be a little bit hard for me to keep up with, and I'm the one who made the damn thing. So, sorry for that. And then also, sometimes there's words that are in languages that aren't English, and I don't speak languages that aren't English. I want to real bad. We don't talk about what happened to all the classes that I tried to take of different languages. And by we don't talk about them, I mean I have talked about them at length. But I'm not going to do that right now. Point being, I'm a sad monolingual fuck. But I do try very hard. So if I say something wrong in a language that's not English, oopies, be nice to me. And if I say something wrong in a language that is English, be nice to me. Number one rule is be nice to me. That's what Fix Sorry is about. And finally, you can use exclamation point VODs, not fic VODs. Although, I suppose for the sake of people's brains, I could make a version that is also exclamation point fic VODs, but it's kind of a little late for that, don't you think? Besides which, all the things are listed on the screen. Anyway, exclamation point VODs will take you to my YouTube archive where I'll be putting every VOD for this series, as well as, anything else that I may stream. Yeah. VODs for this go up pretty much just as soon as I'm done with stream. And it just takes whatever time that YouTube requires to upload and process and all of that shit. So it's usually not a very long wait. And if it ever is a long wait, because, say for instance, I set it uploading, but I looked away for too long and got sidetracked, and it finished uploading, but I didn't know about it, and therefore was not there to hit publish, and it's been a couple hours now. Well, you know whose problem that is? I mean, mine mostly, on account of it's my fault, but, I have an annoying sibling. Just kidding, you're not annoying. But I have a sibling who will annoy me about it, should that ever come to pass. And has, when it did. So don't even sweat it. Don't even sweat it, bro. It's taken care of. It will get taken care of. I'm gooey. I'm gooey today. Why am I gooey? Why am I like sniffly and sneezy? I don't like it. Either I'm allergies or something else is happening, and I don't want something else to happening. Not that I particularly enjoy allergies happening either, but I don't want to be sick and dying, you know? Nobody likes to be sick and dying. Don't be sick and dying. It's bad for you. Be sick and living, I guess. But it's better to not be sick. Which is how come it's good to get better. What? Why am I... I'm saying the most nothing-ass shit right now. Honestly, that's true. Sometimes I am just a pile of goo. I'm just a pile of mush. Mentally. Mental mush. Where I'm just kind of, amorphous and blobular, and all that exists is some concept of me instead of an actual shape of me. I don't know what I'm saying. I haven't known what I'm saying this entire time. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Anyway. I have now addressed everything about the stream that I want to address about the stream before the stream. It is now time for the stream. Let's just do the stream part of the stream now. How's that sound? Does that sound agreeable to you? It sounds agreeable to me. Let's do this. Let's dive right in to what experts are calling Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 42. Though it was many years ago that you were given life, it is only today that you will be given a name. A code name? Okay, a call sign, and you're not given it, you have to pick it. Arguably, that's so much worse, and it involves thinking about who you are as a person. You hate that kind of thing. You have a regular name, but Carcat Vantis isn't a call sign. You sprawl uselessly on your bed and try to think. You have to pick something. You fruitlessly search for synonyms of anything that might work. You look up words to do with crabs because of your lusus, but none of them appeal. Besides, your lusus type doesn't actually say anything about you. Maybe you could go with something to do with your mutation? Synonyms for mutant aren't especially helpful, and in all honesty, they just feel like Googling slurs for yourself. You're not wildly keen to have someone call you any of these. Perhaps if you go more specific and look at blood-related words, you might find something useful. Ugh, this is impossible! You roll off of your bed and step out of your room, intending on finding Dave to see if he can help you. Dave is in the main room reading something on his tablet, and he looks around at you as you step through the door and immediately lowers his tablet to focus on you entirely. "Hey, man," he greets you pleasantly. "Hey?" you reply, somewhat suspiciously. Dave seems unusually pleased to see you. Not to say that he retches in disgust at the very sight of you usually, but this is oddly focused pleasantness. "What's up? What are you doing?" Dave asks brightly. "Nothing much. I wanted to ask for your advice, but you seem to be..." You start. "Advice?
Fuck yeah, I'm here to help. Anything and everything. I am at your service. Just say the word. No matter how long it takes, I am committed. It's you and me together, Carcat.
Dave says in a rush and shoves his tablet off to the side. You narrow your eyes in suspicion and pick up his tablet. You click the button to unlock it with your claw and whoosh it past Dave's face as you take it, so his face unlocks it. Looking down at the screen, you can see an article on the diathesis stress model. The theory discusses how environmental factors and experiences, along with a genetic predisposition, can account for psychological issues. You look at Dave over the top of his tablet.
Avoiding our homework, are we?
You ask him suspiciously.
You can't prove anything,
Dave says in a highly suspicious manner.
Driving yourself a little crazy with it and need a break then?
You guess.
I'm just trying to get it over with at once, but it's stressing me out,
Dave admits as you walk around the lounge plank to join him.
That's a little ironic, considering what you're reading.
You laugh. Dave gives you a slightly baffled look until you remember that Dave's grasp of what irony actually is has always been weirdly absent. You suspect he deliberately cultivates the lack of understanding just to be annoying.
I'm willing to take a break if you need help with something, or want to talk, literally anything. Do you want to strangle me on the lounge plank for some reason and stop me reading my stupid psych homework? Go ahead. That took a weird turn,
Dave says in a rush as you sit down.
It's not like I've ever done that, but presumably it must do something for some people, right? Then again, maybe it's all in your mind. People are into weird shit, right? It can't all, feel physically good, can it? I wouldn't know.
Hey, do pale relationships have he goes on, only stopping when you smush his tablet gently against his face and muffle his speech.
We're stopping this conversational train before you kill this entire ship through secondhand embarrassment. Instead, we're going to talk about my call sign, and you're not going to talk about people's kinks or wander into even thinking about if and how that applies to my rails. Clear?
You tell him very firmly. Dave takes a breath, and on second thought, you shove the tablet a little harder against his face.
And to be clear, if the next words out of your mouth are some kind of ironic "yes, sir," said in some salacious tone because you think it is funny and/or ironic, I will not hesitate to fuck your shit up in a way which is both absurdly disproportionate and wildly petty. I will steal all of your bedding when you're not in. I'll hide one of all of your pairs of socks, and so help me God, I will get pet-safe chemicals and dye obscenities into your dog's fur.
You threaten him.
What are you gonna do, write fuck on the side of my dog in Kool-Aid paste until it dries and stains his fur?
Dave snorts.
I will do precisely that. You might be about to tell me there's no way Beck would stay still for that, but you should know that I am well aware of how easily distracted and bribed he can be with a rubber treat ball filled with Cluckbee's paste. Do not doubt me, Strider.
You hiss menacingly at him.
Okay, jeez.
Dave sighs and leans back away from you.
Good.
You nod and toss Dave's tablet into his lap. Dave leans over and looks under the coffee table where a barely awake Beck is laid out on his side doing an awful lot of nothing.
Thanks for the help, boy,
Dave tells his dog sarcastically. Beck flicks one ear and closes his eyes.
What's worse is I'm pretty sure you could bribe him to go along with your evil plan if you had enough treats to hand. Don't write fuck on my dog. If you're gonna do anything, at least draw a dick on him,
Dave pleads.
Absolutely not. You'd enjoy that too much.
You sneer at him and then look down at the aforementioned dog, who is still lazing under the table.
He's really out of it, isn't he?
You ask after a moment, leaning down to pick up one paw, lift it in the air, and then drop it again.
He's moping.
Dave sighs. You give Dave a curious look. You don't know what Beck would have to be sad about. If anything, Dave has been really leaning on him for emotional support, so he's been getting so many cuddles that Beck should be over the moon. My therapist has a dog, too. Her name is Cinnamon Toast, and I think Beck has a crush. He's by her side the whole time whenever I'm there, and he's clearly completely lovesick for her. He explains.
Oh, puppy love, huh? Actually, that isn't going to result in puppies, is it? You wonder. Well, I don't know about her, but Beck isn't fixed. There's not that many dogs around that people do that as standard. Besides, normally when ships meet up, people will try and arrange that sort of thing, so they've got a diverse gene pool. Although, Beck isn't anyone's daddy just yet. I'm not really sure how that'd work with Cinnamon Toast. She's a little corgi, so who the hell even knows what their babies would look like? Dave laughs. You try to picture Beck, but with itty-bitty little legs, or perhaps a regular corgi body and Beck's long legs. Either option is wildly amusing, but it's best not to laugh at Beck. You're pretty sure that he can tell somehow. You wanted help with your call sign, then? Dave asks, and you nod. I don't know what to pick at all. I know the rules, but it's supposed to be something meaningful or relating to you personally. Everything I pick out either sounds like a creatively challenged kid trying to pick a character name in an MMO they don't particularly care about, or it's just a stupid description of me. Everything mutant-based started sounding like some kind of insult, and now I'm left wondering if I have anything unique or interesting about me, or if I have anything meaningful at all within me. You say in despair, and slide down the lounge plank morosely. Sulking takes up a few seconds until the weight of Dave's silence makes you look up at him. He's not looking at you so much as he is staring blankly at the far wall with a focused look on his face. What? You ask him. Are you asking for suggestions of what kind of thing you could go for? He asks slowly. Yeah? Why? You say warily, not sure if he's going to make fun of you or not. I can get you not wanting to lean into the mutant thing. I didn't choose a name all about having shit vision. I get enough of that already. But I think you could still do a lot with the idea of blood if you wanted to, not even literally referencing your color. Blood is metaphorically all about sustaining life and providing for and connecting other things, which tracks given how much you hold people together. You're the whole social glue of lots of different groups. Everyone likes you. You keep things stable between people. Our whole friend circle is proof of that. If we were one living thing, you'd absolutely be the blood. You put the homie in homeostasis, you know? Dave says, all at once, as if he'd been waiting to unleash these thoughts for his whole life until you finally granted him a moment to do so. But beyond that, you could easily make a tongue-in-cheek kind of statement about how loud you can be. Audio puns are easy, as long as they don't conflict with anything we might need to say about the shuttles or the ship's audio equipment. I've already told you about your voice, but I could totally rattle off a bunch of words to describe how you sound if you really wanted me to. Dave continues. I think you'd be mortified if you started that again. You point out, but Dave is still talking. You could easily go for a reference to your ancestor and his legacy of rebellion if you wanted to hit up that particular well. There's lots of symbolism of iron in there, which ironically links back around to blood, especially blood that's red like yours and mine. Or, if you'd prefer, you could lean more into your work stuff of playing peacemaker and negotiator for people, though you might have a little more competition there with other people's call signs. Dave goes on, checking things off of his fingers as he lists them off. He turns on the lounge plank and looks at you thoughtfully for a moment, but before you can say a word about this torrent of thoughts that he's just unleashed upon you, he starts up again. You could go for something based off of how you look, he suggests. That's a terrible idea. I'm not gonna have people insult me every day. You laugh bitterly. What? No, I mean like how some people describe their horns sometimes in their call signs if they're especially unique, and yours are just like perfectly round and smooth, so you could do that. Solix would have been kind of stuck there since a lot of gold bloods have a double pair for some reason, but he got his duality pun in there anyway, so I'm sure he's happy with that. Yours is more of a texture and shape thing that you could go for. Or you could think of a way of describing your sign in one word if you wanted to be especially creative, but that's probably more of a reach, I think. Then again, you could do what Aradia and Gamzee did and lean into your interests. I'm sure there's all kinds of literary things you could go into, genres or linguistic whatever. I don't know the terms, but I'm sure you do. There's a million kinds of things you could pick, man. I get not knowing how to narrow it down from that, but you have so much to pick from. I personally think the blood metaphors work best, and they're metal as fuck, but I get it if that's a touchy subject. But, yeah. Dave doesn't so much trail off as he seems to realize that he just rambled an awful lot about you without even stopping much to breathe. That was a lot of things you just said, you observe after several stunned seconds. I guess. Dave shrugs and taps his fingers quickly against his leg. Under the table, one of Beck's ears pricks up, and he wriggles out to sit by Dave's feet. Have you been storing all those ideas up in your head this whole time in case I asked? You question him. Surely he had to have been holding on to that and didn't want to push unless you asked. No, Dave says, without looking at you as he pets Beck's head. That's just off the top of my head. The room is silent as you stare at Dave, who is running his fingers through Beck's fur in careful little patterns. You couldn't think of one thing worth calling yourself, one trait or interest that warranted a name. You couldn't think of a single quality you had so strongly that you'd call yourself that forever. Yet, with barely any prompting, Dave was able to spit all that out, to list off all of the things he knows about you and the things he thinks. He touched on your interests, understood your reservations about your mutation, and when he talked about how you look or who you are as a person, he was... complimentary would be the wrong term, although his estimation of your social skills was definitely complimentary. He talked about your horns, and there was no hint of a crack about them being stupid, stubby, or embarrassingly small. He spoke of their perfect shape and texture like they were something charming. Dave might talk a lot of shit at times, but you've never known him to insincerely flatter people, not unless it was a blatantly sarcastic thing for a joke. That wasn't him joking. He believes everything he said and told you like it was no big deal. You falter. I wish I saw me like you apparently see me. I wish you did too. Everyone who actually knows you likes you. Maybe not all the time. Sometimes you yell at people and piss them off, or you're a pain in the ass, but as a person, you're the kind of person people like. Dave says simply. Something in your chest catches, and you feel it glow and warm you from the inside out. Homeostasis would be a great call sign, Dave says after a moment's pause, snuffing the warm fuzzy feelings out for exasperation instead. Absolutely not, you retort instantly, making Dave grin brightly. Maybe I can look up blood words and that wouldn't be so terrible, you say grudgingly. That's not exactly the spirit, but it is close, so we'll go with that. Dave shrugs and leans back on the lounge plank again. Beck hops up alongside him so he can continue receiving attention. You slouch down against the cushions and pull your palm husk out again to search for blood words. It is unremarkable, and a lot of these words don't seem like anything you'd call anyone. How often do you use these, anyway? I never hear Gamzee or Aradia call you, You're sure you've been told what Dave's call sign is, but it's escaped your mind. Leica, Dave answers, taking his hand off of Beck to gesture as he speaks. Beck looks up at him, you'd guess from lack of petting, but who knows. Right, you say. Leica was the dog used in one of the first Earth experiments to see if we could get something into space and bring it back alive. They picked a dog and called her Leica. They sent her up there, and she died in the experiment. The people who trained her and used her left her to die alone in space, overheating from a failed shield. I know what it's like to be experimented on by people who don't care if you die, Dave says. Beck whines and nudges Dave with his nose. He smiles at him sadly and strokes Beck's head. Don't worry, Beck. Nothing bad is ever happening to you, and I'm here with you now. You're good. Dave reassures Beck softly. This fic is tagged nothing bad happens to Beck, so we can believe that for certain. But people don't call you that, you point out. They do. not in day-to-day conversations, no, but on a mission over comms they do, or during training, or if they're not so familiar with me, they might as a formality kind of thing. I wouldn't suddenly start calling you whatever you pick, but if I was on a mission and talking to someone else about you over comms, then I would. You're not changing your actual name. Dave reassures you. I know, but I'm still gonna be stuck with it. You mumble and go to scroll down to the K's to see if you can get anything starting with the same letter as your real name. Wait. Oh, that's funny. You were scrolling and you thought you read hypocrite because you were speed reading as you went past, but no, it's something else. Hematocrit, the percentage of packed red blood cells found in a unit volume of whole blood. You read out loud. It sort of looked like hypocrite. That kind of works, actually. Too many or too few red blood cells gives you a real problem, and everything needs them to work. It's all about balance. Pun intended. Dave says thoughtfully. Further down the list is hemostasis, but you know Dave's going to circle back to the homeostasis thing if you so much as think that too loudly in his direction. There's nothing in the K section. Plasma sounds cool, but is either definitely already taken and a little pretentious, or might be off limits because it's probably a word that might be used in fuel and engineering, or just as a general space word. Am I overthinking this? You ask Dave after a moment, lowering your palm husk to look at him. As a general rule, or specifically now? He asks. I'll skip the opportunity for you to drag me on a personal level, thanks. I meant specifically about this. You say flatly. You're not going to willingly open yourself up to that kind of insult, especially not before you've had breakfast and coffee. It's hard to say. I mean, names are important, but it's also not your real name. It's situational, you know? You already caught that I don't call the others by their call signs on a day-to-day basis. I use their actual names. Everyone does. You also said that you're not going to be on many missions, or that you're not interested in doing that. So the situations that you're going to need this are probably going to be limited to the chat and not a lot else for most of it. Dave says. Right, so I'm overthinking this. You conclude. Well, not exactly. Aradia's call sign is kind of goofy. Gamzee's is semi-sincere, what with the whole clown connection and all, and mine is way more real than I normally get when it comes to naming things. Solix's is probably some mix of both, knowing him. So, it's really how serious you want to make it. Dave corrects you. But, like you said before, if I'm a balancer, you start. No one's gonna say shit about anything to you. Not that we talk shit about each other's call signs anyway. He finishes for you. Fuck it! Hematocrit it is. Go for that. I've given up enough time thinking about this. You say despairingly. Future you can regret this if he likes, but you're bored now. Cool. I'll register that for you and get you added to the chat, and everyone can stop whining about you not being on there. Dave nods and starts typing away on his palm husk with focus. Your palm husk pings in your hand after a few minutes, and you look at it to see that you've been added to some garish, off-brand looking Trollian channel that's green, with everyone's names in black or white. Solix is down as black right now, interestingly. I'm guessing you didn't have a setting set up for dual alignment balancers, seeing as that wasn't supposed to be a thing that could happen. You guess. I'm sure he'll complain about it, but putting him in yellow would look god-awful on that screen, and I'm not setting up something that'll alternate his color every other letter. Can you imagine what a nightmare that'd be to code? Really, what kind of pretentious person would even set up a filter to have their text color alternate every other letter or something? Dave asks, with a look of what you can only assume is aesthetic disgust. I'd offer to code that for you, but I think if I tried to code anything else ever again, Solix will break my fingers. You snort. I'd probably help him with that. Dave mutters. Hello, Guilt. So nice to see you again. What's it been? 10 minutes since you last saw one another? Great. That's a Dave's Broken Diamond Club reference, by the way. The, alternating text color every other letter. how much of a bitch that would be to code was spoken by someone who knows. Well, now that that's done, do you need anything from me? What's... The power of speech leaves you in stalled and faltering words. Do I need anything? Dave repeats in confusion. I think I was trying to be helpful and offering my company or help with anything you had planned. I think all coherent thought has escaped from me. You explain, or try to anyway. I don't know. I don't have therapy today, but I have it the day after tomorrow, and I figured if I talked to the doc about it, then maybe I could try and talk to Dad. I'm hoping the doc can give me some kind of cheat sheet to go off of, but I doubt that. It'll probably just be more horrible realizations about myself and feeling kind of shitty. I did need you to pick a name, but you've done that now. I don't really want to go build a ship, because that's kind of stressful, and fuck that noise right now. Dave grumbles. It's something of a tricky situation. Obviously, the ship needs to be built so that the Carapacians have somewhere to live. That's pretty vital. But on the other and disproportionately larger hand, Dave's already done more than enough for everyone. He's allowed to take time to himself to heal and get better. Honestly, you're pretty proud that he's doing that so thoroughly. He broke up with Solix under the justification that he was doing everything else to make himself better. And he really is doing everything. Dave's taking this seriously, and he's not pulling away from either of you any more than the breakup required him to. I'm definitely going to regret suggesting this, you say slowly, and Dave looks at you with curiosity on his face. But you and Aradia talked about training me to at least pass the minimum tests before we got to Skya. Is that something that we should get on now? I'm not sure if shouting at me to make me do physical exercise would be more stressful for you, or if laughing at me would help you. I'm not gonna shout at you unless you're about to hurt yourself and you haven't noticed, and I wouldn't laugh at you when you're learning something. Or, I don't know, if you say something dumb when we just happen to be in the gym and it's unrelated to me training you, then I'm absolutely gonna laugh at you, but I'm not gonna be standing there mocking you for not knowing how to do the thing I'm there training you to do. Dave tells you. I guess. You're right. I don't think you'd actually mock me when I'm trying hard, but I do still have that general sense that everyone is always secretly laughing at me when I'm bad at things. Or laughing at me in general. You shout, throwing your arms angrily into the air, like this is Dave's fault instead of a deep personal failing on your part. Do you want to go to therapy? Dave asks after a second. Shut your stupid face. I've been before, briefly. I didn't find it helpful. Honestly, it was more helpful when Rose occasionally picked at my psyche like a vulture and then forwarded me articles. Beyond that, I'd just talk to Solix or Gamzee. You tell him. That should have been Gamzee and then Solix. Not or, and definitely not the other way around. Hello again, Guilt. Go away! Yeah, well, Dave mumbles, because he probably didn't enjoy the mention of Rose. We should probably get to training you, and if you're game for it, then I'm happy to do it. I'd need to work out your baseline before I can come up with a proper plan. On the plus side, I think most of the sailors will be building the ship, so we'd have free run at the gym, or if not completely free run, then we'd only have to share with a few people. The less of an audience I have, the better. You agree. I'll change then. Dave nods. You realize that you have to do the same and reluctantly get to your feet, wondering just what you've got yourself into here. You return to your respite block and search through your clothing for something that could be considered gym appropriate, or at the very least isn't going to constrict your movement. When you're quite done gazing upon your visage in the mirror with dismay, you return to the main room. Dave is leaning against the wall, his focus on his palm husk. He's not only in workout clothes, but he's making them look unfairly good. They flatter every part of him, and with his casual pose and the way his hair is swept into his eyes at this angle, it seems like he can do anything he wants to. Really, that's the one thing you always got so mad about with Dave. When you were teenagers, he always seemed so effortlessly confident. Or perhaps confident isn't the right word. Dave would trip over his words into fantastic Freudian slips. His cool kid exterior would crack, and you could put him off balance. That wasn't it. The real thing you always got when you looked at Dave was the sense that he was perfectly content with himself. You can't imagine Dave standing in his respite block before his mirror hating himself. You can imagine him deciding that something looked better or worse with a given outfit, but you can't imagine him not liking how he looks. Though, you imagine that if someone looks like Dave, it's very easy indeed to like how you look. He's unfairly attractive. It shines through as he stands there, casual and unapologetic. Of course, you know that Dave doesn't like himself as a person right now, but that's a wholly different matter. Hey, you ready? Did you eat already? Dave asks you, with simple and friendly concern. I didn't, actually. I should do that. You answer him and turn around to your little communal snack cupboard. You definitely should. Passing out or anything worse is not a good way to go about working out, Dave says with a quiet laugh. Yeah, Dave might not like who he is right now, but you've always liked him because of stuff like this. It's easy to assume that Dave is an asshole. He can look like he should be. He can even talk like it, but with little moments like that, you know that he's good. Even if he's putting himself back together, you know that part isn't going to change. Is this good enough? You ask Dave, instead of opining about how much you think he's a good person. Yeah, that's good. You don't want to overdo it. Let's go. By the time we're there and I've got things set up, you should be good to go. Dave nods, approving of your little snack bar and bottle of sports drink that you've started stocking for Solix's benefit. The two of you and Beck leave the hive and travel to the sailor area of the ship. On the way, you make casual conversation about not much of anything. Meaningless talk about adverts you see or shows you've watched before. Nothing that anyone listening into your conversation would be interested in reporting to the salivating masses on the Atuan's social media platforms. You've stopped looking at those because it makes you so angry, but at the very least, the number of posts about all of you seems to be going down. You're not going to speculate any reasons for that, and you certainly won't be asking your two more morally flexible balancers if there is any reason for that. Beck also does a very good job enforcing Dave's personal space for everyone but you, leaving Dave a nice little clear orbit of space around him that you and you alone are allowed inside. When you arrive at the gym, Dave gives you a little tour, though since you came in the clothes you're going to work out in, it's not as if the changing area is of much interest to you. Alright, let's get you stretched and warm up a little. I want to see how much flexibility I'm working with here, Dave tells you. He leads you through a series of stretches and little tests. Can you do this? How about that? Can you touch here? What about over there? Of course, everything he asks you to do, you fall far short of what Dave can do, so you're hardly optimistic when it comes to your starting level of flexibility. You're actually pretty flexible, Dave says at the end, his hands still on his knees as he presses them towards the ground with his legs not crossed, but with his feet together. I'm clearly terrible, you counter. You're not. I'm really flexible because I work on it a lot. You're easily more flexible than most people. You've got lots of flexibility in your hips and your legs. You can touch the floor without any problems. You can lean all the way over to one side and reach for that foot when you're sat down. Honestly, it's not your flexibility stopping you reaching that, Dave starts. No, that'd be this. You snort and smack at your stomach, which is a far cry from Dave's chiseled midsection. Pretty much, yeah. Your flexibility is great, but I'm not really surprised now that I think of all the weird positions I see you reading in. Solix is nowhere near as flexible as you, so you're ahead there. The only place you seem to be tight is around your shoulders, Dave says, without trying to placate you by assuring you that there's nothing wrong with how you look or that you're not overweight. To be clear, you're not incredibly overweight or anything, and there wouldn't be anything wrong with it if you were. You're just short, and you have a penchant for stress eating and don't care to exercise for fun. On the list of things you hate about how you look, it's there, but it's not a top billing item. Come with me. I've got a theory I want to test. I think me and Roddy are going to be right on this, Dave says and gets to his feet. You get up and follow him, with Beck trotting along behind you both. He keeps stopping every so often to get his nose in all the interesting gym smells around you both. You figure that since Dave isn't blind right now and Beck is here for emotional support, he has more free range to investigate whatever he wants. Dave leads you over to a bunch of heavy steel racks, big weight plates, and long shiny bars. He goes to a square platform that's welded to the floor with many long metal poles placed in individual little sockets like a bouquet of flowers made by an uncreative welder. That line got me so hard yesterday. Dave pulls one free and carries it upright back to you. When he gets back to you, he shifts his grip on it so that he's holding the bar parallel to the floor. Hold this for me, Dave says and holds it out. You take the bar and find that it's about as heavy as you'd expect a long metal bar to be. You watch Dave for the next step and see that he's watching you carefully. Do this, Dave says, and motions to sort of row the bar from the height you're holding it at to something around chest level. You do so a few times, and Dave watches that too. It's heavy. What is this supposed to be proving? You ask uncertainly. That I'm onto something. Put it down on the floor. I'm gonna grab something. Bend with your knees, Carcat! Dave calls that last part to you loudly as he walks off. Dave comes back with a bunch of metal plates in various colors, and you watch as he slides one on each end. He explains that he wants you to pick this up in a specific way, kind of scraping it up your shins until you're standing upright with the bar at the level your clenched hands rest at, all while keeping your back straight. Dave goes into a lot of detail about how to be sure that you're holding tension or whatever in the right places. He has you do this for one arrangement of plates, and then another, and then another. You continue until it starts getting heavy enough that you're finding it pretty hard going, all the while he's making notes on his palm husk. Dave switches you to another exercise after that, where you have the bar over your shoulders and upper back, and then crouch most of the way down with it and get up again. He repeats the same process of adding weights until you start to struggle a bit more than you'd like. He goes through a few things in the same process before eventually calling for a break. So, here's the deal. What with your body composition and your flexibility, you've got an above beginner level of strength, and honestly, I think if you train this, you'd shoot up really quickly when it comes to what you can lift. Dave tells you. Isn't endurance and cardio fitness the whole point that we're meant to train for, not brute strength? You ask him, a little breathlessly. Yeah, sure. Are you telling me your heart isn't racing right now? Dave asks, with a shit-eating grin as he leans over the bar to look down at you where you're sprawled out on the bench. But you're too tired to protest more. I had Solix run because that was the quickest way to get him to pass the test, since the test involved running at that level. I've got more time with you, and I think running would be a shitty way to get you where I need to get you. I think you need to do something like boxing that's about strength and cardio. Also, it's not so boring. If I can get your endurance up that way, then I can just jump tracks to running for the test. Dave explains. But how is standing there and hitting something doing anything for endurance? I mean, I'm not demanding we go running. I've always hated running, but I don't see how this is going to help. It's just standing there and smacking something. You say slowly. Oh, Carcat. Sweet, innocent Carcat. You're gonna regret saying that. It's absolutely about endurance, and I'm gonna prove that to you, but not today. Dave grins. I still feel like I should be running. Why am I saying this? I hate running. I take it back. No! You whine, but Dave is already pulling you to your feet. If you insist, Carcat! Dave beams with inexorable malice. You hate running. Past you who suggested this is an idiot! You at least prove to Dave that you're as bad at it as you said you were, and you're not misrepresenting your lack of skill here. Needless to say that when you two head home, you're absolutely beat, and you end up having a shower and then having a nap on the lounge plank. You suspect that Dave hasn't been sleeping well, because when Solix comes home from work, he finds you both asleep there, although Dave jolting awake is what brings you back into the land of the living. What? You mumble and look around hazily. Clearly exciting times here, Solix observes, shutting the front door behind him. So thrilling, Dave mumbles and sits up properly. At his side, Beck yawns and displays an alarming number of sharp teeth. Hey, shoes off! You bark angrily at Solix as he walks past you both and into his respite block. I'm going right back out. I'm going out with Hal. He wants to see some movie. Solix argues from within his respite block. He's left the door open so you can hear him. Dave's eyes widen and he ducks back down lower on the lounge plank, his expression distinctly flustered. Curiously, you lean around him and just see Solix pulling a new shirt on over his head. Dave caught a glimpse of Solix changing. Solix comes back out of his respite block, having the decency to float and not walk on the floor at least. We're probably gonna get dinner or something, so don't wait for me or whatever, Solix tells you, buttoning up the last button on his half-white and half-black shirt. I have a shirt like that. Not to brag or anything. I should have bought two, when I had the chance. I looked on the website, and it's not there anymore. And I'm sad. Dave's face is conflicted. Clearly he's interested in Solix, but absolutely isn't letting himself feel that. When Solix looks at him, Dave can almost completely bury that expression under one of polite interest in what Solix is saying. You're cool with that, right? I know he's your brother, but we're friends, and I think he's not exactly having a great time with the rest of your family right now. Solix says carefully. That's kind of my fault, Dave mumbles. It's really not, Solix says flatly. I don't mind at all, man. Like you said, you're friends. If they have anything obscenely artificially flavored for sale at the movie theater, then grab it for me. I'll pay you back, Dave says. You're as bad as Terezi, Solix snorts. She'd take that as a compliment, you point out. So do I, Dave agrees. Yeah, I think I've made my point. Later, Solix says and floats himself out of the hive. Dave relaxes a little as the doors shut, or at least the facade drops somewhat. I think he knows you're attracted to him. I'm not sure you have to hide that, you point out quietly. Dave looks around at you quickly. Clearly he hadn't realized that you'd caught that. I can't be hiding it that well then, can I? I know he knows, but it's still... I'm not gonna rub it in his face, just sitting there staring at him when I'm the one who did this in the first place, Dave says bitterly. Well, I can't speak from the point of someone who's broken up with him, but after a while I find that you're mostly able to tune it out. Like, yes, he's pretty, but what else is new? You shrug. I don't know how you do that, he mutters and glares at the lounge plank as if it was to blame. What? Find someone attractive, or find them attractive and have feelings for them but continue on as normal? You ask. Yeah, how the hell do you do that? Dave asks. In fairness, sometimes it comes out of nowhere and still smacks me in the face. I'm not claiming that doesn't happen now and then, but eventually you get used to it. You know nothing is going to happen, and what you have is more important. If I couldn't talk to anyone I've ever found attractive, then I'd be a fucking hermit. You laugh. That sounds exhausting. I can only deal with Jade by reminding myself that we're friends and focusing on the familiarity of everything. That and how she kind of broke my heart. Obviously it was for the best, but still, it hurt like hell. Aside from her, and I can count the number of people I have this problem with on one hand. I'm pretty sure I'm not as subtle as I want to be. Dave mutters and glances at you. Oh, it's not news to Jade or Solix, so I think you're fine. Besides, you're probably not meant to be repressing your feelings, right? You guess. Dave laughs a little, but it's a tight and almost hysterical thing. Not exactly a reassuring sound. Maybe it's best to move on from this avenue of conversation. So, if Solix has abandoned us for the cooler Strider, Hey! Dave protests. Then, do you want to do something? You should probably keep busy, and I'm going stir crazy in here. You go on, ignoring Dave's interruption. It's kind of early to order food, but we could binge watch something maybe? He suggests. We could do that. We could go out for dinner if you wanted. I know you went out of your way to do all the training and testing stuff with me today, so consider it thanks or whatever. You propose. You also think that getting Dave out of the hive more would be good for him. I'm down for that, especially because you won't be thanking me tomorrow. Dave snorts. Well, that was terrifyingly ominous. The two of you end up watching a cartoon that your friend group was really into when you were all younger. One of those things that was, strictly speaking, a cartoon for smaller kids, but given a lot of the themes that ran in the deeper story and the subtle and slightly less kid-safe jokes, it was absolutely also intended for an older audience. The animation style was always really charming to you, and Dave always liked the music, which in your opinion always went really hard for a kids show that had no need for it. Maybe you're both a little old for cartoons. No, you're not! There's no such thing! Still, given the post-apocalyptic world that you're living in and your respective recent breakups and traumas, well, it's hard to deny yourself a little animated optimism that wants you to believe that friendship is what really matters. As disgustingly trite as that idea is, there's something to it. You can't undo Dave's trauma with the magic of friendship, or beat back the void with it, as far as you know. But it sure as shit makes all that stuff a lot better to deal with. The two of you watch several episodes back to back, check the time, and decide on a few more. Then it's really about time that you should go for dinner, but you've gotta watch just one more. The end result is that when you both get to the pizza place you picked, you're ravenously hungry. Dave fed Beck before you left, but he also has a little portable food and water bowl for him to lay on the floor next to his chair, so Beck can be included. Dave orders his pizza and even gets some cooked chicken bits on the side to put in Beck's bowl. You get the pizza you wanted and a long and involved discussion with Dave about the show you were both watching. That's the thing, though. The score is just so good, and all the characters have those recurring motifs in it. Dave says, gesturing with his pizza crust as he talks. Not arguing with you there. I'm just saying that the voice acting was the best thing for me, if you're talking about the basic bits that went into it. You couldn't have got a better cast for the main character. You go on. Look, the voice acting... Okay, so the thing is... Dave pushes his hair back out of his eyes with his free hand, but it slowly starts sliding back towards his face. He is still talking, you know he is, and you can hear the words if you focus, but on the other hand, your mind is entirely devoted to what you can see before you. Dave is so into what he's talking about, into the audio component of this show that you've both loved for years. You can see the enthusiasm on his face, as well as the focus that he's giving the matter at hand. His pale hair is falling gently into his unusual eyes again, soft, silky, and shining in the restaurant lights as it slides back. He gestures as he talks, and you catch the way his smile ticks into place for a second as he says something that amuses him. This is something that's always got you about people that you're into. The moments when they light up as they talk about something they care about. When Solix talks about his games or his code. When Gamzee would tell you about something funny that he did on a mission. When Jade would talk about science. It does this to you. They glow with the sheer intensity of their own feelings, and never is someone more attractive to you than in those moments. Like, so what if your friends are hot and they look good naked? Everyone's naked sometimes. Fuck that. Give you someone talking about something they're really connected to. Let them light up as they go on about it. That gets you. As you said, you can ignore that your friends are attractive. You've had crushes on most people. You deal with it. You're able to separate friendship from romantic attraction, and by and large, you can ignore the romance side of things and focus on the rest of your relationship with them. You admit your feelings, but don't dwell on them. But in moments like this, you can't ignore it. You've never got over your feelings for Dave, but normally you can leave them in their nice little box. When he sat here with you over dinner, over something that could have been a date, as he talks about something that matters to you both with enthusiasm, you're done for. Your pump biscuit thuds in your chest so loud you'd think he could hear it. What the fuck, Carcat? This is your best friend's ex-kismesis. They only just broke up and clearly intend to get back together. You just watched Dave stare longingly at Solix. You've held Solix as he sobbed over losing Dave. You cannot sit here and stare at Dave with feelings like that in your chest. It's completely fucking unacceptable. Stop it right now!
You know I'm right. Dave concludes finally and bites into his pizza crust victoriously.
You didn't hear a goddamn thing he said. All I heard was, yes, Carcat, you were right and all of your opinions are great, so I can only agree.
You say lightly.
Oh, suck my dick, Carcat, that's not what I said!
Dave retorts, in a rather unfortunate turn of phrase for you.
Anyway, I think we need to get Solix to rewatch this to settle this once and for all. I mean, so he can also agree with me, the only source for good and right opinions on the matter.
You continue.
Please let mentioning Solix out loud remind your horrible think sponge that you cannot have feelings for Dave right now. It's a terrible idea.
Dave's expression falls slightly, and you realize that you may have brought him down as well, which hadn't been your intention. I hope he's having a good time with Hal. I feel so shitty about both of them. Dave says quietly.
You're not responsible for what the rest of your family do. Honestly, it's probably good for both of them to get out.
You tell him. Yeah, away from striders that fuck things up for them. He mumbles. Good job, Carcat. You ruined Dave's mood because you can't keep your goddamn feelings straight.
That's not what I meant,
you say softly. Dave chews at his pizza somewhat listlessly. Below the table, Beck shifts and backs out to sit up properly at Dave's side. He gives him a curious look, but doesn't do anything just yet. I need to fix this. My family, I mean. I'm gonna talk to Dad first if the doc says my plan is good, and then from there work out like an order of operations or whatever to get through the rest of them. It's not fair to Hal, and probably not to most of them either, Dave says after several silent seconds.
That sounds like a good plan, but make sure you're not rushing, you know? This is supposed to be at your pace. It's only been, 11 days since you had that whole fight at the bar with Dirk and Rose?
You point out. Dave shrugs half-heartedly and drops his partly finished pizza slice back onto his plate. The universe doesn't run at my pace, Dave says simply, and wipes his hands on a napkin before petting behind Beck's ears. Something just occurred to me. He said 11 days. It's been 11 chapters, I think. Right? Yeah. This would be the 11th chapter since then. Since 31. Math.
It does for now,
you tell him sharply. That's a nice thing to say and all, but it doesn't. The longer I leave stuff with people, the worse it's gonna get. I just have to suck it up and deal with it, or else it's only gonna get worse. Dave shrugs.
That's shit, Dave!
You snap and slam your fist on the table. Dave arches an eyebrow at you. You'd be warier of doing shit like that if he hadn't known you so long and if he'd ever reacted badly to that. You don't make Dave jump, but you can hear that you startle a few people on nearby tables.
Why is it that you have to be the one that sucks it up and deals with it instead of everyone else? Why do you have to bend for them? You've been doing that this whole time. Everyone owes you the same back. If they don't let you heal and deal with this properly, then you're only going to get worse. They are the ones who have to suck it up and wait, not you. This whole time you've been putting everyone else's safety needs and feelings before your own, and look where that led you. You hiss at him, not actually wanting to broadcast Dave's whole deal to everyone else in the restaurant. I mean, Dave hesitates. No, you give me one reason why it has to be you instead of them. And I'm not accepting that it could be either of you, but you can only control you. I'm saying, why do you think it has to be you that swallows this and makes peace at your own expense? you demand. Dave glares at you, but you're not backing down that easily. You can outstare Gamzee when he's so freaked out from a nightmare that his voodoos are leaking. Dave hasn't got shit on that. I feel bad that Hal's in this situation, and I feel shitty about leaving my family in that situation. Dave says finally. Entirely understandable, but feeling bad isn't evidence that you're the worst person and everything is your fault. Or so people tell me when I'm feeling like that. They should be feeling bad that you're hurting as well. There's no reason to think that you're the only one who feels bad. Sometimes shitty situations happen and everyone feels awful. By all means, if you're ready for it and you want to, then go and talk to them. But don't do that shit because you have to take one for the team. You've taken way too many for the team already. You insist. That sounded like a weird sex thing, Dave mutters. The only reason I'm not kicking you in the shins right now is that I think Beck is concerned enough for you that me doing that might make him snap at me. You hiss at him. Excuse me, Wall? Making noise? Why Wall making noise? I'll imagine you kicking me in the shins of my emotions. My emotions, even. Dave says thoughtfully. Fuck you for that joke. Anyway, good, imagine that kick. Look, I'm serious about this. I know it's hard to not fall into the same patterns of behavior with people and the same patterns with yourself, but if you want to be genuine with people and not repress everything to shit, then you can't go around doing this. You can't bend all the time or you'll eventually break. You sigh. I already hit that point. He points out quietly. You deserve better than that. Which I know sounds dumb because I'm talking about how you treat yourself, but you do. You're a good person, Dave. You deserve to be treated well by people. You remind him. Including by me, because I am also people. Dave laughs weakly. Yes, Dave, you is also people. You snort. I am, is, will be our people. He goes on. I think you made my think sponge bleed. You groan. Oh, Dave says with a grin. The expression isn't as bright as earlier, but it's genuine. You feel bad for disrupting his good mood, but you're glad that you caught him on the way to a potential backslide into self-destructive behavior. It's not the kind of thing you can fix in one night, but every time you reinforce it for him and remind him that his feelings and well-being are worth something too, it'll help. And you know what else will help? Taking a break! I'm gonna be back in a few minutes. And that's the end of the sentence. Did I have something else that I wanted to say? I can't remember. I mean, I don't think I had anything to say, actually. Never mind. Alright. I'll be back in 10 or more minutes. Whee!
We're done now. I'm almost done. I was typing. So I missed the pause button. I have like just a couple of bites of mac and cheese left. So we're done now. Anyway, timelines, calendars, yay! I'm totally not insane about them.
Huh, some of this cheese is cold. How did that happen? That's not possible. Okay, so disposable, so we can just get rid of that. That's almost weirder to see you say than anything related to Homestuck. That's almost weirder. Almost. Not quite, but almost. Wander is not a huge Tumblr user. Has never been. But uses it to some degree now. And that's wild. Did you see me on there? 'Cause you shoulda. No, we can't do the choking on beverages again. Avert this crisis before it happens. I do think that as far as the badges for the boops, I think they just continued with they didn't add any like new ones. Cuz I didn't get anything new. And I sent over 1,000. But if for instance like I saw that you had one, Wander, and I don't think you were there on April 1st. So I think you just get it's just like cumulative or something. Maybe, I don't know. Two separate boop crises. Boop events. Huh. Yeah, okay. I think that confirms my theory then. Since I already have all 3 badges from April, then they didn't have anything more to give me. Still went for it though, just in case. I get that reference. Because I said it out loud. Of course I get that reference. Anyway. We should get back to it. What do you guys think? Get back to it. And I'm not going to use my mouse to do it, because that's noisy. Fuck! Did I close the... Yes, I closed the... We're good to go now. So let's go now. My God, I've been booped. Let's go now. When the next morning arrives, you discover that you slept pretty solidly, which makes a certain amount of sense when you consider that you were at the gym with Dave yesterday. You also don't feel nearly as bad as you'd expected you would. You sit up in your bed with a little wince and then go to get up and... Oh, fuck! What? Oh, God! Dragging yourself to your feet is a new and fresh kind of agony. Someone seems to have snuck in during the night and replaced every muscle in your leg with some sort of solid incandescent nightmare rock, and also fused all of your leg joints together, presumably with a welding torch if the pain is any indication. You stumbled to the door with stiff legs and managed to uncoordinatedly slap the button to open it. You do then nearly fall through the damn thing, startling Solix and making him psionically catch you. Holy shit, are you okay? He asks in alarm. Seized up and sore, huh? Dave asks from the lounge plank. You did this to me! You hiss at Dave as you lean against Solix, who has now come over to physically support you instead of holding you psionically. What's going on? Solix asks, and looks around in the hope that anyone at all will give him an explanation. I took Karkat to the gym and he hit the weights, Dave explains. I think they hit me, you whine. Oh, yeah, I was sore when Dave started me out on all of this. Solix nods. Sore isn't even in the region of what I feel, you exclaim furiously. Don't worry, Karkat. Go have a hot shower and you'll feel a little better, and then I've got something that'll make you feel way less stiff and sore. Dave promises. On the basis that there's no way you're offering me drugs, and that's not going to be innuendo, I can only assume that this is some kind of trap, you say. It's definitely a trap. Wait, is this a, if you work out again, everything will relax a bit and it won't hurt so bad kind of thing? Solix says suspiciously. It is exactly that, Dave says, clearly pleased as anything with himself. This seems like some kind of con. You can lure him in with one trip to the gym, and now if he wants to get rid of all the pain, he has to go back. It's a scam. Solix snorts. You got me. The entire industry was a ruse the whole time. Don't tell anyone or they'll revoke my membership, Dave says, entirely tonelessly. I'm going to harm you, you hiss at him. How? You're so slow and clumsy right now that you couldn't even catch a cold, let alone Dave. Solix laughs at you. Right in your face, actually, since you're so close. You thump Solix in the shoulder for that glib little comment, and he decides to respond by no longer letting you lean on him. You manage to not fall on your face, but it's not your most graceful moment. For real, though, the shower will help, Dave tells you. You grumble to yourself and stiffly walk over to the ablution block. You shut the door behind you and start taking your pajamas off. When you get into the shower and turn it on, you breathe a sigh of anticipatory relief. That lasts until the ablution block door opens, making you shriek. You swear you locked it, but somehow it's, Sat at the door to the shower cubicle is Beck. The door to the ablution block is closed behind him now as he sits and stares at you. You definitely did close the door, but you wonder if there's something on Beck's harness or some chip in him that means he can unlock locked doors. If Dave had locked himself in here when he was blind, only to fall and hurt himself, then Beck would need to be able to get to him. So the question is, did Beck see that you were having trouble walking and decide to supervise you of his own accord, or did Dave send him in here? Either way, Beck doesn't seem like he will go anywhere, so you return to showering. Dave is right. The hot water does help, and you're able to massage your stiff muscles to get more movement through them. It doesn't take it away entirely, though. Even when you get out of the shower and dry off, you're sore in muscles you didn't know you had. Sure, you have your thigh muscles, whatever they're called. The ones on the front and the back, but somehow you've made all these little ones in your inner thigh and countless other tiny places you didn't know had muscle, all sore. You wrap the towel around your waist and walk gingerly out of the ablution block with Beck at your heels. At the sound of the door opening, Dave looks around at you, and his face freezes as his eyes widen a little in surprise or something. Dave starts, but it doesn't go anywhere. I'm guessing from the surprise on your face that you didn't send him in there to keep an eye on me? You ask, pointing at Beck. Nope, I didn't. I guess he just wanted to keep an eye on you or something. See that Vantass in person? Or dog? Dogs are people. That's what... Yes. Dave laughs weakly. This is yes. It's fine. I'm not mad. I know what he's like. You say and look down at Beck, who gives you his best, who, me? Impression. Expression. Expression. I can read. I am so literate. I know what letters are, I know what words are, and I can say them. And that's what it's all about, baby. So, are you wanting me to change into gym stuff then? You ask Dave with a sigh. The gym will probably have a problem with you going in like that. I mean, so will everyone else. People will just be going about their days and they see you in just a towel. They'll have pedestrians not looking where they're going and comically falling into fountains. Dudes standing around chucking pizzas up in the air will get distracted and then have pizza land on their face. People will walk into signposts, all that kind of stuff. You're just a public hazard like that, you know? I know that the ship is technically in some kind of proto-anarchy right now, thanks to you, but everyone will band together to form a new leadership structure so that the people in charge can hand down a note telling you not to go around like that with all the chaos you'd cause. Oh shit, is that the real reason why you got the captain thrown in jail? Was it also you could have your nearly naked chaos bender without anyone to stop you? That was the real reason all along, wasn't it? Dave says in one long stream of nonsense. Do you have an off button? You ask him despairingly. I mean, the only thing I can think of isn't very PG-13, but I'm pretty sure that wouldn't even get you silenced, so I'm going with no. He says back instantly, his face a picture of regret that his mouth is faster than his brain. Going to change now, you announce and leave Dave to it. He'll probably keep talking without you even there. He's done that plenty of times before. You can sympathize with that, though. You too have been afflicted by having your mouth run away with you so many times. Only with you, the problem is that your brain just hands your mouth insults that you really shouldn't say. Dave's just seems to lead him down either incredibly weird roads or hits the weird innuendos and implications highway. He's always been like this. You can just tune it out by now, honestly. Getting changed is a little difficult, a little graceless, but you get there. You ought to buy more things you can work out in if this is going to become a thing. There's only so fast that the laundry service can be expected to return your clothes. Kanaya could probably advise you on clothes to wear that won't make you look so much like a wreck. She'd also likely take issue with you saying something like that about yourself. You do eventually manage to dress yourself and leave your respite block. Once again, Dave is waiting for you, and once again, the three of you head to the gym. And pleasingly, Dave seems to have got his weird tangent out of the way. In fact, by the time you get there, he's back to whatever passes for normal with Dave. So we'll stretch first, Dave tells you when you arrive. That's correct, there is no heterosexual explanation for any of that. I'm not optimistic about that happening, you tell him honestly. You'll get there, Dave reassures you. As you predicted, you are nowhere near as flexible as you were yesterday, but to Dave's credit, he does lead you through a cycle of stretching things out, and when you repeat that cycle of stretching and go back to the same point, you are more limber. Still sore, but more mobile. He leads you away from the areas that you were in yesterday and starts to explain. Don't worry, I'm not making you run, and I'm gonna let your legs chill out from all the lifting you did yesterday. We're gonna do boxing, Dave tells you. Is this just a very long-winded way of getting to punch me in the face? You ask him warily. It's really not. I'm not planning on actually sparring with you here. You're way too new for that, and I want to make sure you can hit something and not hurt yourself, Dave tells you and opens the door to a new section of the gym. In here, there are hanging bags of all kinds, bars, mats on the floor, and 4 slightly raised platforms in the middle of the room that are spaced out like a disassembled square or something. It's only when you get closer that you see that they're 4 squares that have markings on the floor to denote different corners and areas. They're 4 boxing rings, or actually, you think they're probably interchangeable for a lot of combat sports. Looking around, you see that you and Dave are the only people in here at all. So, do you do this a lot? You ask him. Box? Dave asks as he leads you through the room. Yeah, not to be... tell me if I'm being insensitive here, but I wouldn't have assumed you'd be into this kind of thing. You say, as delicately as you can. You'd think so. I don't get on with some sports as well, the ones where there are fewer rules and conventions to it. I'm not a fan of mixed martial arts. That's a little bit too close to squaring up to bro. Boxing has loads of rules, though, and there's very particular equipment. You only fight when everyone has agreed, and it's very controlled. Very clear where it starts and stops. Not that the other sports aren't like that too, but I prefer this. Besides, Jake is big into boxing as his combat sport, so we spar a lot. Dave tells you. I can see how that'd work. You nod. Okay, wrist wraps. Let me do you first, because if I have you copy me, then we'll be here all day. Dave says, and pulls a white, wound-up strip of fabric out of a rack of them. He unwinds it with a flick of his wrist, and your eyes widen at how long it is. That's just for one hand? You ask in shock. Well, if I put it over two, you're gonna have a hard time hitting anything. Dave grins at you. You're the worst, you grumble. Dave smiles at you and takes your hand. He slides a loop at the end of the fabric over your thumb and starts carefully winding the material around your hand, the warm touch of his fingers on your skin making you shiver. The point of all the combat sports isn't really to train you for using any of them. It's about learning to channel aggression in a productive way. It's so you can learn how to keep on task even when you've just been hurt. It's about knowing your limits. Is it helpful to know that if some local fauna catches you unawares, you can pop him one with your bare fist? Sure. But it's not expected, and no one's meant to be fighting people from other ships. And no matter what Jake wants, there's no way we're going to come across pirates and challenge them to a fair fight in the gentleman's game of boxing. Dave snorts. I can see that so clearly in my mind, you say in wonder. I can see it getting him shot in the leg for even asking. Make a fist. Does that feel okay? Dave asks. You do as he says, and then nod. Anyway, Dave goes on as he grabs another wrap and repeats the process for your other hand. My point is that I don't want to teach you how to fight. I want to get your stamina up by doing something that's a bit more thinky. Not to mention, you've got the kind of fire that works well for something like this. Thanks, I guess? What would you get Solix into? You wonder curiously. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want him boxing. His hands are so delicate and nice. I've never trained a psionic in combat sports. They have their own things, I think. I don't know how fair that'd be on anyone else when you think about how powerful he is. I think I'd have to leave that to Aradia. For a non-combat sport, rock climbing would be good, as long as he could resist cheating by flying. Dave says thoughtfully and finishes up your second wrap. You're big into rock climbing, aren't you? You ask. Yeah, I love it. It's just a big puzzle. I get to work out without having to be bored. Dave says brightly and wraps his own hands up at impossible speed without even looking down at them. You look down at your hands and think that you should probably be flattered that Dave is willing to teach you all this stuff at all, much less answer every little question that you have. You go along with him as he grabs a pair of gloves for you. You do what he says as he carefully explains all the basic types of punches and has you run through them over and over. But, grateful though you are, you start to get a little bored after a while. Is it just this? You ask a little breathlessly. Hey, you know what they say? Dave begins in what will certainly be an example of what people don't say and have never said. I fear not the man who's done 10,000 punches, but the one who practiced one punch 10,000 times. Barack Obama. You stare at Dave, and then, very slowly, go to bop him in the face with your glove. To his credit, Dave does stop making you repeat the same punch repeatedly, and goes to get some weird gloves of his own. They're flat and have little targets on them. Dave explains that he's going to catch your punches, and you're going to go through it like a little pattern, like jab, jab, cross, hook, etc. Dave leads you through it, but as soon as you combine everything into a pattern, you feel off and wrong-footed. The change is blatant, and Dave eventually calls time on it. He squints at you and then looks down at your feet. Hey, do me a favor. Switch your feet around. Which one you have forward and which one you have back. Dave explains, seemingly to stop you from trying to physically amputate and reattach your feet. You do as he says and frown. This feels wrong. You said I had to stand like this for... You start. I know what I said. Keep this hand by your face instead. I want to see if I've been teaching you the wrong way around for you. Copy me? Dave says, and comes to stand at your side. He pulls his hands up to guard himself and then jabs with the opposite hand to the one he's been having you jab with so far. You copy him and continue to do so as he has you box the air through every punch he's taught you so far. When you've mentally renamed everything, Dave goes back to facing you and slowly leads you through the pattern again this new way. It clicks all at once, and you can easily follow what Dave is telling you to do. You box southpaw like me, he says in delight. Dave's smile is blindingly bright, and for a few seconds, you forget how to breathe. What's southpaw? You ask as you regain the power of speech. It's basically anything left-handed. I'm left-handed, so I box left-handed, or southpaw, but you don't have to be left-handed to do that. Some people are right-handed, but for some things they're not. Like you, it seems. Dave tells you eagerly. Is that good? You wonder as you look at your gloved hands. Well, it makes matches interesting. There's not that many southpaws for people to practice on, so you tend to throw people off, which can be fun. I just think it's cool because now I don't have to teach you backwards the whole time. Dave laughs. Well, that's cool. Yeah, you say dumbly. Come on, I've got way more planned for you, he tells you mischievously, and that stupid crush of yours digs its claws into your blood pusher a little more. As promised, Dave does have a bunch more training for you, and you're completely worn out by the time you're done. He did say that he'd make you regret saying that standing there and hitting stuff can't be hard. Past you is an idiot. As some small act of mercy, Dave lets you have the next day off, but you wonder if it's partly because he has therapy that day, and he doesn't think he'll be up to dealing with more than that. Although he had said that he might try to see his dad, so you have hope for that. You're sure that it'll go well. Surely it will. His dad is the sweetest. You get a message from Solix mid-morning that at least piques your interest. KK, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Are you not normally? Good point, but I meant more that I was going to be upfront about my motives for what I'm asking you here. Consider me curious. Go on. In an effort to be a good friend, I offered to bring Hal along to social stuff with our friends, since a lot of his friends are also Dirk and Roxy's. DV for giving Hal and not them is making things tense. That makes sense. I can see how it could make things awkward at the very least with their shared friends. At least if it's our friends who don't have as much of a stake in this, then it'll be easier. Well, except for Kanai and Terezi, I guess. Right. And I want to help Hal because I'm a good friend. It would also probably be a good night to do this if Dave's dad is doing dinner and a talk with him. That might get tense at home, so if Hal is out, then all the better. Where's the catch? I was hoping you could arrange it. Okay, that's a relatively minor task, and you know I'm not working right now, so if that had been it, I would have expected that you'd ask me to do you a favor by arranging something that's your idea. So, what's the actual catch? Invite Nepeta and Equius. Are you asking that because of how Hal reacted to Equius before? I am being both a very good friend and a very bad friend at the same time. I want him to be around new people, and I think he and EQ would get on really well. Maybe they're secretly soulmates, and all they need is this one push to fall into a super weird romance. Also, I lived to see him squirm, and this is gonna be funny as hell. Those are definitely some mixed motives right there. I'm only suggesting it because EQ didn't actually seem off about the whole thing. I wouldn't try to make him feel weird. And Hal did like him. Oh, did he now? I suspect that you've heard more about that than me, but you've got my attention. I'll go see what I can arrange. We are terrible people. We are. Also, we're the best. Sure, let's go with that. After you check that Hal is okay with going to a bar, he is as long as no one in your group will get trashed, you make a reservation and a plan. The place you're going to is called The Deep End. It's a bar/restaurant that specializes in its tasting menu with the idea that your party will order multiple courses. Each party gets a dining area to themselves that includes lots of bar games like pool, hence the name. You managed to arrange for Nepeta and Equius to show up without having to clue Nepeta into your plan. You also get Aradia and Jade to come along, and the rest of your friends were either too involved with the Strider situation or had other obligations that they couldn't bend for your last-minute plan. You head to the Deep End at your allotted time and have to pause at the bar to get yourself a drink and to get directions to your area. As you wait, you can't help but notice a very specific sign painted on in chalk on the board behind the bar. Patrons must be cited at time of playing darts. For health and safety reasons, blind people may not play darts. Now, you can't prove that this has anything to do with Dave and Terezi, but the very specific wording does fit Dave, who will turn his vision off when he hangs out with her. You also can't think of a more on-brand Dave and Terezi decision than, "We are both blind, let's throw pointy metal things through the air." The bartender is taking her time, though. Have you ever played darts at the Deep End bar? For legal reasons, I will tell you that I did one time and have never done so again afterwards. You've definitely never been back here since then. Perhaps sneaking in or wearing a stupid disguise. You wouldn't do that. Exactly. I wouldn't do that. I'm glad you understand me so well, Karkat. For legal reasons, I entirely believe you, and I have no further questions. Continue not throwing darts when blind. Wink. You'd ask Dave, but he's probably going to see his dad soon. He dropped you a very brief message about it earlier, and you didn't want to fuss about it. But that's not the sort of thing you should interrupt for questions about blind darts. The bartender comes back with your drink, a fizzy, non-alcoholic grapefruit mix over crushed ice, and gives you directions to your room. When you get back there, you see that Solix and Hal are already there, picking at the food and talking. Can you fill it with cheese? Yes? Should you? That's a question only cowards ask. Hal opines and eats a deep-fried jalapeno in one bite. You're going to assume, from context, that it has cheese in it. Hey, I'm surprised that you two aren't playing already, you say as you set your glass down and glance at the unused pool table. Tell me, do you think playing a game like pool with Solix is going to be fair with psionics like that? Hal asks flatly. Karkat, go back to HR. I'm being discriminated against. Solix pouts at you. You look me in the eye and tell me that you would not psionically move the balls, or freeze them in place when Hal went to hit them, or levitate them around in the air. Go on. You challenge him. I would never, Solix says, in a stellar bid for least convincing sentence ever award. You roll your eyes at him and steal some onion rings from a bowl. Behind you, the door opens, and Aradia and Jade walk in with a background wave of bar noise behind them. Hal! Jade says delightedly, and walks past you and Solix to hug Hal. Hey, Jade. Hal smiles and gives her a quick squeeze. I don't know about you, but I feel shunned, you stage whisper to Solix. I don't. I'm nowhere near as needy as you. Solix says haughtily, though it's somewhat diminished by Aradia's mocking laugh. Wow, thanks, AA, Solix grumbles. Anytime, sweetheart. Aradia coos at him in joking sweetness. Solix sticks his tongue out at her and immediately regrets it when Aradia tries to grab the forked tip of it. Glad to see you finally got off of your ass and picked a call sign, Carcat. Hematocrit. I like it. Aradia smiles at you as she absently continues poking at Solix to annoy him. The chat is nowhere near as exciting as I thought it might be, but I'm in it now, you say. The balancer chat is pretty much just calls back and forth of balances and checks. That and the scattered announcements about breakups and therapy. Dave and Gamzee have taken to warning the chat about their respective therapy days in case they throw the balance off or something. Well, it might be more exciting when we get back in touch with the other ships and we can talk to other balancers again. But the whole process of getting to that is taking forever, Aradia whines, dragging the word out. They're going to do it tomorrow, that's what I heard. They were going back and forth on what to say and making sure there was no virus anywhere, but yeah, last I heard it's tomorrow, Solix says, smacking her hand away. Sweet, Aradia chirps. Hey, Aradia, Dave's been training me on the physical stuff, but I was hoping maybe I could get more balance training from you. What with... You gesture vaguely. You're not sure if Jade knows about Dave's therapy, but either way, you don't want to be discussing it behind his back. Yeah, maybe the three of us can have a try tomorrow. Aradia nods. You turn your attention back to Hal and Jade to see that they're looking over the menu together. Won't be anything compared to your dad's ones, Jade says. What is, really? Hal shrugs. Right, but even though they'll be well below his cooking, they're still probably going to be good, so we should definitely try it after all these are gone, Jade says eagerly. Oh, Hal's words die on his lips, right as you hear the door open behind you. Car-kitty! Staying out of trouble? Nepeta chirps as she walks up to you and bumps into your arm. I thought I'd give it a try, just for a change. You smile at her, glancing at Hal, who is still staring behind you. Nepeta, where do you want me to put your... Aqueous asks from behind you as he approaches with 2 glasses in hand. Oh, I'll take it, thank you. Nep says sweetly and takes her large mug of amber-colored beer from Aqueous. Aqueous hands Nepeta her drink and is left with a large empty glass for himself and a decent-sized bottle of soda. It's one of the ones with the glass balls in it that you have to pop down or something. You're not entirely sure how they work, because when you were at school, Aqueous always broke them whenever he tried to open them. You don't get to see him do whatever it is he does, because you're more focused on Hal, who seems to be trying to murder Solix through the sheer force of his stare. Solix looks as cheerful as can be. Ek? Solix starts, and Hal looks at him in terror. You've met Hal before. I can swear that we've upheld our promise to not get blown up again. Glad to hear it. Aqueous chuckles and looks from Solix to Hal. Hal falters, but powers through. I had a pretty decent not being blown up streak going up until recently. I'm trying to get back to that. Hoping to break my previous record. You seem to have healed really well. That's really good. I'm not your doctor anymore, but I think I can entirely support this plan to not be caught in further explosions. Aqueous smiles. Hey, Nepeta, do you want to play against Jade and Aradia? You ask innocently as you gesture to the pool table. Oh, I'm game. No psionics, Aradia. I want to crush him fair and square, Jade says eagerly. I'm down for beating them fairly. I'll do nothing to the balls or them. I can agree to that. Aradia grins and psionically pulls a pool cue from the rack on the wall into her hand. Or the table, you add. Or the table. Fine. I agree to your conditions for crushing you. Aradia sighs. I don't agree to that, Aradia, because we are going to win. Nepeta growls in feral delight and bounds off to get pool cues. I hope you understand what you've started.
Aqueous says quietly to you as Nepeta runs off to get pool cues.
Oh, I know.
You nod. You're not actually that good at games like this, unsurprisingly. You're quickly searching rules of pool on your palm husk as the ladies set up all the balls and get the game started. The fact that you're close enough to listen in on Hal is entirely coincidental. Listen, I need to apologize, Hal says quietly. To me? Aqueous says in surprise. Yes, to you. I'm sorry for how I was at the hospital, Hal says. How do you mean? Aqueous asks. I saw the video of myself. I saw what I was like, Hal mutters. Video? Aqueous asks. Terezi was filming him, Solix adds helpfully. That is both a violation of patient privacy and also entirely unsurprising. I must give her another talk on medical ethics. If nothing else, the threat of that may make her behave. Aqueous tuts. Either way, I was completely inappropriate with you. I'm mortified. I'm so sorry. Hal adds, his voice forced and stiff in its delivery. I don't know what you mean, Hal. You were concussed, and it's entirely expected and diagnostically appropriate to behave a little unusually from how you normally would. Aqueous reassures him. Sure, people say weird shit when they're concussed, but that doesn't make it okay for me to stare at you like that and blatantly flirt with you. You were working and trying to do your job. You didn't deserve to be sexually harassed at work like that. I'm really sorry, Hal says in a rush. You've given up the pretense of focusing on your palm husk by now, so you get to see Aqueous staring at Hal for several seconds. Oh, I hadn't realized. Honestly, I have had far more overt and inappropriate things said and done to me by other patients. I didn't even consider anything you said inappropriate. Aqueous reassures him. God, that's awful. I mean, just because you're going around all hot doctor like that doesn't mean that... Fuck! Oh, God. What I mean is that I feel terrible that anyone would treat you badly, and I would never hit on someone at work, but evidently concussed, Hal flounders, and you can see his face getting redder by the moment. Your judgment and inhibitions were disrupted thanks to your injury, and right now you are nervous. I can entirely appreciate that neither situation is representative of how you would normally behave. Although I don't think that any of your comments were over the line, as it were, I can understand that you would be distressed at not being able to uphold your evidently strong standards of behavior for yourself. So, let me reassure you that I don't think any less of you, and everything is absolutely fine. As I said before, I'm not your doctorist any longer, and I am not at work, so you don't need to be concerned about anything. Aqueous says calmly and soothingly. Right. Sorry, I completely put my foot in my mouth there. Hal laughs weakly. Oh, don't worry about that. I've known Dave and Carcat for years. I barely notice things like that anymore. Aqueous says dryly and glances sidelong at you. Hey! You protest as Solix starts cackling with schadenfreude-filled delight. Carcat, come on! Nepeta calls out to you. You leave Hal, Aqueous, and Solix and get closer to the pool table. Nepeta shoots you a curious look and glances at Hal and Aqueous. Solix's idea, you say under your breath, and Nepeta's mouth curls up in a devious and intrigued smile.
Consider me very curious about that,
Nepeta says quietly. That was a stretch, and you know what they say about curiosity and— Ow! You yelp as Nepeta smacks you right in the ankle bone with the end of her pool cue. We're not going to take mercy on you just because you maim your own teammate, you know. Aradia grins. Please don't make me have to work. Aqueous sighs as he looks away from Hal to you and Nepeta. I'm fine, by the way. Thanks for your concern. You grumble. Consider me reassured. Aqueous smiles politely.
You turn your focus away from the nerds around the table and instead focus on the game of pool before you. You're not exactly skilled, but you're not the worst there is either. You're absolutely the worst one playing, but that's neither here nor there. It's not as if the game is really being taken all that seriously anyway. When you're not actively trying to take your shot, you're mingling with your friends and eating the food you've ordered or drinking your drink. You and Nepeta lose your match against Jade and Aradia, and retire to order more food and drinks as Jade and Aradia face off 1v1. You help yourself to a spring roll from the second platter and listen to Hal and Equius talking. You can't help but notice that they've been talking to each other either directly or within the same group conversation for more or less the whole time. Though, you're maybe starting to see why, given how the conversation is going.
I have to ask, was it your idea or Dave's? About his eyes, I mean.
Hal questions Equius as he picks at the food on the table.
Oh, Dave's initial surgery wasn't led by me. I was part of it, but I wasn't part of deciding whether to change his eyes to... Equius begins. No, I know that. I meant keeping his original eyes afterwards.
Hal explains. What do you mean keeping them? Dave didn't keep his original eyes. They're robotic, unless there was a prototype that he has somewhere. Solix says thoughtfully.
I do have every version of Dave's eyes that we've created for him, both as a point of technical pride and also for future reference should I need it. But I don't believe that's what Hal means.
Equius explains. Hal means his actual human eyes. Dave kept them after he had them replaced. He has them in a jar. Jade says, and makes her shot with a crack of the cue ball on the table, sending several balls into pockets. He has what? You yell in alarm.
Yeah, he keeps them in a jar. They're preserved and sealed because it's a biohazard otherwise. He's not got them loose in a Ziploc baggie somewhere. They're not rolling around on the floor picking up dust.
Hal reassures you.
That is a relief to know.
Equius snorts. I've never seen spare eyeballs in our hive, what the fuck? Solix says, quite reasonably, in your opinion. He has them in a sealed jar that either lives on the top of his wardrobe at the very back, or if he's put stuff up there, they live in the very back of his wardrobe on a box of other random crap that he holds on to for some reason. But I'm not complaining. I'm not squeamish, but I'm not keen on them just looking at me from a shelf or anything. Jade explains as Aradia sinks several more balls. Hey, you've snookered me! Jade says irritably. That's the point, but I'm not sure it can be snookering if we're playing pool, can it? Aradia looks at Solix as if he'll know. I think it's just called winning. Solix snickers. We'll see about that! Jade hisses and paces around the table so she can look at the setup from every angle. Looking at the balls on the table reminds you of eyeballs again, and now your mind is stuck on the earlier conversation. I can't believe that Dave has his eyes in our hive, that he kept them like that. Why would he do that? And why wouldn't he tell us? You say, appalled all over again.
In fairness to him, why wouldn't he keep them? They're his eyes. He made them all by himself.
Hal says with a shrug. Wouldn't it technically be your mom who made them? Solix asks slowly, as if he's not sure if it's fully okay to mention that awful fucking woman out loud.
Actually, no. Human cells replace fully as they grow and age. Different cells replace at a different rate, but by the time Dave had his eyes replaced, every cell within them would have been made by him.
Equius says, with keen, helpful, but still gross interest. They're still body parts in a jar. That's weird, you argue. Dave told me that he had an opportunity that few people ever have, to be able to look himself in the eye. Literally, Jade adds. That's shit. You start.
No, you don't. You look at yourself in mirrors or in photographs. You don't see your own eyes with your own eyes.
Hal cuts you off before you can really start. You open your mouth to argue, but he does technically have a point, and the fact that the point is a technical one makes it worse somehow.
To answer your question, Hal, it was Dave's idea. He seemed very entertained by the prospect, though I did remind him that if he ever wanted to get rid of them ever, he needed to return them to the hospital for proper disposal, and not to simply dump them in the trash. And definitely not to throw them through the shopping district to try to hit the hanging decorations like the grossest stress balls / water balloons ever, for example. Equius says.
I am incredibly certain that is a direct quote, and I despair at the idea.
You groan.
Okay, but if he thinks they're so cool, why keep them in his closet?
Solix asks and picks up his drink.
Well, there's lots more room in there now, I suppose.
Jade says brightly, and you hear Solix choke loudly. Hal shoots Jade an alarmed look, but Jade waves him off.
Everyone here already knew. Don't look at me like that. What do you take me for?
Jade reassures him, as Solix tries to recover from nearly drowning himself. How did you know that everyone else... You start to ask. Equius loudly smacks Solix on the back, which either helps the choking or kills him, because it stops right away. You'd know for sure if you were looking at him, but your attention is on Jade right now.
Me and Dave still talk a lot, especially when we're swapping back over. And you know how Dave can talk when he gets going. Just because we broke up doesn't mean he's not still my best friend, jeez.
Jade says, and she sounds almost offended that you'd ask. That's very good to hear. A solid support structure is very important, Equius says sagely.
He says after obliterating my posture pole?
Solix wheezes. I actually have a very strong grasp on my strength. I wouldn't perform surgery if I didn't. You are fine, except for being dramatic, and I cannot cure that, unfortunately. Equius huffs.
He's right. You'd be jealous if you knew how good his massages are. I'm a very lucky Moirel.
Nepeta says innocently, and you catch Hal's eyes widen as that idea plainly plays out in his imagination. Oh, Nepeta will have the time of her life with this one. Solix too, no doubt. The night progresses as you watch the various games of pool and later darts go on, including the moment when Hal says that he's never really played pool before, and Equius goes over there to physically correct his form. You're sure that Hal nearly dies from heart failure then and there. You enjoy watching Solix and Aradia play psionic darts, but they play it without looking so that it's challenging, and technically that's not against the letter of the rules outside of the bar, but you're very sure it's against the spirit of them. Seemingly, when you see those kinds of warning signs and wonder, who would be so dumb as to make them need to put up a sign about this? The answer is your friends. Even so, your mind wanders back to Dave. Specifically, his well-being, and not his eyeballs that may or may not be in your hive, floating preserved in a jar. Hey, I know that you're busy with your dad, but I hope that everything is going well. I'm going to die, Carcat. Please tell me you're being hyperbolic and this is an immediate mental health crisis. Although, if it is, please tell me so right now. No, I mean, Dad's stress cooks and I'm gonna die from food. Dave, don't fucking do that to me! Sorry, I didn't realize I had to be all careful about that. It's not like I'm in danger to myself. My problem is panic, dude. You have very little regard for your well-being. What? No, fuck off. You spaced yourself and could have easily not made it back inside. You jumped the ship without knowing if you could do it and live. That's different. Just... I worry about you, and you're dealing with a lot right now. I was concerned. Sorry if I leapt to conclusions or upset you with them. It's whatever. I appreciate the thought, or whatever. So, if you're sitting and eating your dad's food, I'm assuming that it's going well? There was a lot of crying, and I feel like shit, but in a slightly better way, I guess, and we're talking now. I don't know if I'd say I'm fully cool with things, but I'm not... It's that forgiveness versus accepting thing we said about, but he apologized like I wanted. Like you needed. Like I needed him to, yeah. I don't know, I'm pretty beat. I might go home soon with a metric shitload of leftovers.
I'm indescribably delighted by all of that.
But mostly the food, yeah?
Oh, sure, your emotional growth and social healing are great and whatever, but I'd trade you for one plate of your dad's food.
As any sane person would. Or you.
Wow, fuck you. Bring me food and tell your dad that we give him our best and hope he's okay too.
Sure, man.
Your blood pressure feels a little lighter for that conversation, and you subtly show Solix the chat when you're able to discreetly do so. You watch as he relaxes a little to see it. No doubt he's relieved too. You both want him to take things at the pace that's right for him, but this is a sign of progress. More than that, it's more people in Dave's corner when it comes to dealing with the rest of his family, and the value of that can't be understated. As Equius said, a good support system is vital in times like these. The evening starts to wind down naturally, and you're happy that, despite a couple of people having an alcoholic drink in Hal's presence, no one even got tipsy, and he wasn't made uncomfortable. Realistically, you think that the only person who made Hal uncomfortable was Equius, and that was really more in the sense of flustering him. You're honestly not sure how to tell if Equius is flirting, or even aware of the effect he has on Hal or not. You're used to him when he was awkward and weird at school. Obviously, you've seen him plenty since then, but not in the same all-day, 5 days a week kind of amount. And to be realistic, you often get a picture in your mind of someone when you know them from a certain age, and that sticks for years afterwards, even when they grow and change without you noticing. Equius isn't showing any signs of blatantly awkwardly flirting or being sweaty and overwhelmed like you'd expect if he was being flirted with. But it makes a lot more sense that he's become more mature since then, and the attention he's paying Hal is not merely polite and friendly. You certainly intend to dissect all of this with Nepeta and Solix later. No doubt you'll hear all about Hal's thoughts from Solix in the coming days. It's actually pretty nice to have your attention on something sweet right now. When you and Solix leave and head home, you expect to see Dave, but you hadn't expected to see him passed out on the sofa. You exchange a worried look with Solix and get a little closer to him, but he wakes up when you try to take even one stealthy step towards him. His dark eyes flutter open, and there's a moment of sleepy non-recognition before things click.
What?
Dave mumbles and sits up slowly. You can see the imprint of the cushions on his cheek. Are you okay? Solix asks him with concern. Dave seemed fine earlier. You hope that nothing happened that might have made him go off and get drunk and pass out on your lounge plank or something. Not that he seems drunk. He looks a little dazed and not quite alert yet, but otherwise fine.
What time is it?
Dave frowns and picks up his palm husk. He stares at the screen blankly for a second.
I came home and sat down for a second, and somehow it's an hour later. I'm a time traveler,
Dave whispers. Does everyone get to do that but me? Solix snorts. I think it's more likely that you came home emotionally exhausted and fell asleep as soon as you were home safe. Same with Beck, you say, and point to the sleeping white mass of dog on the ground.
If you want to be all reasonable about it and shit, sure.
Dave sighs. So, it went well? KK showed me your message, Solix says as he sits on the back of the lounge plank.
Thanks, Kargat. Sorry, I should have messaged you too, but I don't know what to call it. I had a finite amount of can left, and now I'm at can't, or whatever.
Dave explains. No, I get that. You run out of power to do things after a point. I've been there. Solix nods.
Dude ran the fuck out of spoons. See? You get it. It went well, though. Well, the resolution was good. This situation is better than it was before this, but it sucked to do, and I'm apparently tired as shit now.
Dave says wearily. Cool. Oh, hey. Hal wants to play doctor with Equius. Solix grins deviously.
Gross, but I knew that already. I've seen the video. Well, heard it. I was with Terezi at the time, so I wasn't seeing.
Dave grimaces. Oh, you should have seen them tonight. Hal was... Well, he was pretty much falling over himself to talk to Equius the whole time. Not that Equius seemed to mind at all. You tell Dave as you subtly inch closer to the refrigerator in search of leftovers. Not that EQ seemed mad about it. You did miss Hal calling Equius a hot doctor to his face. He was trying to apologize for being weird in that video you saw and managed to keep digging somehow. I'm pretty sure at that point Hal was planning my murder. I think now he might owe me more favors. Solix says with a malicious smile. Pass. Watching my family be awkward as shit around people they're into is both old news and still gross to see. Dave says and makes a face at the thought. Speaking of seeing, was Jade pulling some kind of prank on us? She told us that you have your eyes in the hive. Not the ones in your face, obviously they're here, but your original edition human eyes. Solix asks Dave skeptically as you lay your hand on the fridge door handle. Oh, yeah, man. I've got them in a jar in my wardrobe. Do you want to see them? They're super cool. Dave says and perks up at the idea. I really, really don't. Why would... you know what? Never mind. Solix says and sticks his tongue out like the thought makes him gag. You're lost, man. It's my body. I want to keep all of it, even if it's not in the same place. Or at least I want to keep all the parts that I'm not meant to shed. I'm not keeping all my hair and fingernail clippings in a bag somewhere or something. That'd be weird. He reassures him. Suddenly you've lost your appetite somewhat. Who could ever figure out why? Yes, Dave, that is the only part of that which is weird. You've hit the nail right on the head there. You snort. Hey, anatomy is cool, and my eyes were unusual even for humans. It's cool to see them. It's not like I'm sitting around contact juggling with them or anything. I don't see why it's any less weird to have Equius pop them out of my skull and give him a teeny tiny cremation. Besides, messed up or not, my eyes got me through most of my life as best as they could. I wouldn't have got them replaced if I didn't have to for being a sailor. It'd be a shitty thing to do to them to just discard them the second I get a functionally better offer. They were good. I don't want to get rid of them. I know everyone else doesn't think they're so cool, and that's why they're in my wardrobe, but they're staying. Dave says firmly. You weren't saying to get rid of them. It's just weird to think I've been that close to disembodied Dave parts without knowing. Solix shrugs. You nearly say that Solix prefers getting up close to the Dave parts that are very much attached, but you catch yourself in time. Just. Anyway, I'm relieved that your talk with your dad went well. Go to bed, maybe, you suggest. Sure, man. I'll go be with my eyeballs. Dave laughs. He gets up with a stretch, yawns, and walks to his room. Beck looks up as Dave moves away and bounds over the lounge plank to follow him. That was certainly an interesting evening, but you think things are getting better. I done it. I done it. These guys and their friends are so fucking funny. Oh my god. I can't get over Jade's joke making Solix choke on his drink so hard that Equius has to smack him and then oh my god. Equius just basically being like, quit being dramatic. Because he's a competent doctor is what I mean. Oh my god. Fucking love these nerds, these dork asses. Man. These guys are so fucking funny.
You know what else is funny? I don't know. Yeah. I didn't actually have anything else that was funny. Oh my god. Anyway. Man, my voice is... I mean, it feels fine. It's not, like, tired or anything. It's just in a different place than it usually is. Like, I feel more nasal and more low. Like, you can feel that, like, texture on it, right? Oh, yeah, and also a weird amount of vocal fry for what's not the bottom of my range. I don't know what's up with that. I'm sure the nasal part of it has at least something to do with my weird amount of goo today. But, damn, so true! It's called I'm Gooey. Well, it's not exclusively that, I don't think. I'm sure that plays a part of it, though. Anyway, it's 7 p.m. We've been at it for almost exactly an hour. No, not an hour. 3 hours. Fuck. I can count. I can say words. I'm Davey. Yeah. Yeah, it's... Because I don't even really do anything in particular for Dave except go a little bit lower, and so just being by default lower in pitch makes me closer to that. If he sounded inconsistent today, it's because I couldn't fucking find it. Some of it sounds more like Hal. You know what? That is also accurate, because, I mean, first of all, Dave and Hal are, like, right next to each other on my chart, but Hal also leans more towards the forward nasally side of the chart. Apparently I've been diagnosed with Strider. It's incurable. It's incurable. It's forever. I'm stuck like this forever now. I embrace my fate. I accept my fate. Ha! Hey. Yeah, that would track. That would track. Anyway. I'm very tired. And I want to eat. I got chicken today, and it was yummy, and I have some leftovers, and I want to eat the leftovers now. So I might go do that. And then, I'll also VOD. The VOD, I'm gonna do the VOD, and at some point I've got to read tomorrow's chapter. Yeah, goddamn. What a good chapter. Today was fun. Today was a fun time. Today was a fun, good time, and I like it, and funny friends, funny friendship, funny. They're funny! They're fucking funny! And it made me laugh! I love it when these guys give each other shit for, like, minor stuff. It was very funny. Okay. Have a good one, y'all. Let's end up the stream. I'll get the VOD up, and catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.